Savadi Krap. Hello and welcome to All About Thailand by me. Today's topic is going to be a still relevant one, which is traveling to Thailand during the pandemic. I've visited Thailand 3 times since the beginning of the pandemic. Once it was in 2020, February, so everything was pretty much the same. There were no restrictions. The only thing was people were already talking about the virus and you could smell the fear in the air. Apart from that, my visit was absolutely fine. But let's talk about my next visit, which was in September 2020. Before that, after February, I already booked my flight for April. And that flight got cancelled, of course, because then the virus, the COVID, really hit the world. It was everywhere in the news. You know how it happened. So going back, the first flight from London to back to Thailand was in August, I think. I mean, that was the first flight actually foreigners could get in. Foreigners who either had a job to start or had family members, but the number of foreigners were extremely limited and it was only one flight 1 month. So I couldn't get on the flight in August, but I got a ticket for the flight in September, and it wasn't a scheduled flight. It was basically a repatriation flight for Thai citizens plus family members of Thai citizens, which I was falling into that category because my wife is Thai and she was still in Thailand. So it was kind of, you couldn't just buy the ticket. It was I can't say any different. It was like a ticket lottery. You had to sign on, and there was the time and date. You had to be online, and you had to register. You had to log in, and you had to very, very quickly press the button for, yes, I want a ticket, I want a ticket. And about tens of thousands of people pressed that button. So no one knew who got the ticket, who didn't, or who hasn't. Luckily, I've got the ticket and I was happy as hell. I was really, really happy because, yeah, I knew that's the first step to visit my wife, to be able to visit her. So since I've got the ticket, I've got instructions, I've got an email about next steps, and well, man, there were a few steps definitely to do. First of all, I had to apply for a visa, a non-immigrant type D visa as a family member of a Thai citizen. That was the first step. Without that, you couldn't apply for certificate of entry, which is still on. So in order to enter the Kingdom of Thailand during the pandemic, you need a certificate of entry issued by your local embassy. So I had to go to the embassy to apply for a visa in person, and later when the visa was granted, I had to go back and obviously collect all my documents and stuff and the visa itself. And then I could apply for certificate of entry, which that time, so in 2020 September, it was still only online. So, and you needed, it wasn't like a registering online and submitting documents. There was an embassy official who was personally in contact with you and asked you one by one, you need this, you need that. So we were emailing back and forth to each other until the point they've received all the documents and I've got my certificate of entry granted. I think my number was 187, something like below 200. So probably that year, since the beginning of the pandemic, I was one of the few hundreds foreigner who granted the certificate of entry until that point in the whole world, I guess. Anyway, so I've got the certificate of entry, and what else? Visa. I've got the visa. Next step was to book my ASQ, my alternative state quarantine. As you probably know, in Thailand, you can't do your self-isolation at home or home of your family member, you need to book an alternative state quarantine from a list. So I've booked mine. My wife was helping me. So we've booked the ASQ, and it cost, I think, how much it did cost? Like, I think either 40,000 baht or 42,000 baht, which was back in the days, like it was about 1,200 or 300 pounds. Oh, also my ticket, my one-way ticket of this non-scheduled, of this repatriation flight, it cost me 689 pounds one way. Of course, so everything was quite pricey, but man, I was so happy to pay that price to finally be able to see my wife. After a month, we never had any separation for anything long like this before. So it was a shock, obviously. So I've done my best. We all did our best to make it happen, and it happened. So before the flight, I needed my pre-flight PCR test, which thankfully, thank God, it came back as negative. So I finally got on the plane. By the way, the queue for that flight, that time it was in September, still, even from Heathrow Airport, from the UK, you had a few flights daily, and one of them on that very day was the Thai Airways flight. So the queue was absolutely, unbelievably, I've never seen it before, long. And I had to queue there just for the check-in, I think between 2 and 3 hours, rather closer to the 3. So about 3 hours I had to queue just to check in and get my boarding pass. Finally, all the documents were fine. I've got my boarding pass, and again, I was so happy. I've got on the flight, obviously on flight, mask on all the time. There was entertainment still on board, entertainment, or on flight entertainment, so I could watch movies. And it's very important because on the way back, no, it was cut off, so I was watching the seat in front of me basically for 12 hours, and it wasn't the best experience, especially when I was leaving, because that time I was leaving Thailand. So, alright, so arrival at the airport. On arrival, pretty much everything the same, except you have the human line or human wall all the way down to immigration of immigration police officers, possibly because of the really limited flights. I think it was 2 flights per day maximum entering Thailand, because they had nothing to do. Anytime the flight came out, they lined up nicely, greeted the arrivals. It was nice. Once I've got close to the immigration, everyone had to sit down. Everyone got seated. Obviously, social distancing, mask on. And first, someone stepped to you in a complete full PPE. So not proper hazmat suits, but very close to that. They checked your documents again, if you have everything, and if they found everything in order and ready, they gave you a number, and then you had to go to another queue. In another queue, they asked, what's your ASQ? They gave you, I think they told you another number. Anyway, after that, you had to walk to the health administration member. So they checked your insurance. They always removed a few papers, whatever they had to remove and whatever was relevant for their role. They removed my proof of insurance, my medical information, negative Pcr test. They just made a note. I gave back almost most of the documents. Then I was walking towards another stop point. Actually, I had to take a seat again and wait until they said, up, everyone's up. Then we stood up, a few people. So I have to say 95% of the flight was Thai citizens, Thai people. I've seen only a few non-Thais. Okay, so that time it was really check for your ASQ. They told you like you have to go out, you have to do this, that. Not very difficult thing. Basically, you had to wait for your pickup or your driver. But before that, you had to walk again towards another series of desks and officials who they checked your documents again. So it was a final check of the documents, and if they were happy with that, they gave you a stamp somewhere, and you could proceed to the immigration finally. Immigration officer basically just check your passport, you've got the visa, that's the routine thing you do, and I'm in. I was finally in. I was admitted into Thailand again after so long. I was really happy. Obviously, I called my wife straight away. She came to the airport. Obviously, you're not allowed to contact with people. Actually, the whole level at the airport was closed, so she could see me coming out from arrivals on the upper level. So that was very emotional indeed, seeing my wife after such a long time. It wasn't for long. I could wave for a few seconds, and that's it. I had to proceed to my transport. I have to say, nobody was treating me as I was, I don't know, infectious, or you came from a country where lots of infection, lots of COVID deaths. Back in the days in Thailand, it was only a handful of COVID deaths, and probably that time no infections at all. So no one was treating me like that, except my transport, my driver, who conveyed me to the ASQ. You could see on him, he didn't want to, not just touch me, didn't want to get close to me. Once I sat in the car, he brought this antibacterial hand sanitizer, and he pressed that thing, I think at least 15 or 20 times when I pulled my hand, because it was soaking properly. Like, what's the point? Anyway, so that was my only experience when people actually looked at me like, you might got infection, or you might got COVID. Once I arrived at the ASQ, there was a check-in, I mean, with nurses, medical staff at the hotel. So they did basic checks on you after you got your allocated room number, and off you go. I went up to my room with escorted. Always you are escorted everywhere, obviously. So I went up to my room and occupied my little residence for the next 15 days and plus. So day of arrival counts as day 0, and after day 0 you have full 14 days plus the 15th day, which is actually the 16th. You can leave in the morning. So anyway, I occupied my little, it was a condo basically. It was a condo building, you know, condominium apartment, a very, very tiny one. I think it was 28 square meter, but it was really nice and well arranged. So I had a proper little lounge. I had a bedroom, a beautiful bathroom, and a little kitchenette, around the lounge area. So I was quite happy, really happy with my accommodation. Oh, also I had a tiny balcony, but it was a balcony, so I could get fresh air anytime I wanted. Let's say activities. Okay, so first of all, arrivals, the room the ASQ provided you 30 bottles of water, which was half a liter. It means 1 liter per day, which, I don't know, for me it wasn't enough, obviously. So 1 liter in a tropical country, if you do some kind of activities, then it's not going to be enough. Obviously there were ways you could order from 7-Eleven water, and there was a list you could order from. So I usually used it to buy water. Obviously I had everything else. So you've got food, meals 3 times a day. The food was honestly mediocre. So it wasn't good. But you know what? So be it. I didn't really care about. Also, my wife was able to drop me snacks. You weren't allowed to get hot food like pizza or proper food, but you were able to drop snacks. And guess what? Hamburger in Thailand, it's still kanom. So, which means snack. So my wife brought me my favorite hamburger from Texas. I love Texas burger. We don't have it in Europe, in the UK, so I took advantage of that. Yeah, I always do when I'm in Thailand. Anyway, so my wife was able to drop me things, or even Thai newspapers, or whatever, crisps. I ate a lot of crisps. And the good thing is, from the balcony, if she went drive next to the hotel, then I could physically see her from the balcony, and we could communicate through phone. And if we wanted to, we could even, yeah, say things to each other, like without the phone. But obviously, we didn't want to make any noise or get anyone's attention, or tell people, give people, yeah, the chance to say, like, oh, look at the foreigner, like, oh. So no, we were doing it very discreetly, yeah, very quietly. But anyway, we could finally see each other, yeah, whenever we wanted, almost whenever we wanted. So she had a chance to came and do this visit every day, almost every day. So it was really happy time, and finally I felt like, yeah, I'm gonna get out someday and we're gonna be together again. So the negative thing about I told you about the food, it wasn't the best. So you were able to order for menu, but it was like 90 baht to 130 baht, which is like really pricey. And again, if the food quality was the same, because I never ordered, like, sorry, I'm not going to pay for it. What kind of activities? I could watch TV, of course, Thai TV. There were no foreign channels, but it's fine because I'm happy with Thai TV. I don't understand, or just barely understand a few things, but I'm happy to have it at the background while I'm on computer or something. So computer, I had my laptop with me. Obviously, I was on YouTube for 24 hours out of 24 hours. And also that time, yeah, I brought my Chinese books, textbooks and stuff, so I was studying Chinese. I could read magazines and stuff. My wife dropped me also Thai newspapers, so I could practice reading a little bit. We had 2 tests, of course, 2 PCR tests, and once you pass your first test, you were able to go up to the rooftop, which was amazing. So I don't know how many floors we had, but quite at least 10, 15, I don't know, a lot. So when you went to the rooftop, or went on a rooftop, the view was amazing. So it was outer perimeter of Bangkok. It was actually in Samut Prakan, not really in Krung Thep, in Bangkok. So the view wasn't that beautiful, but man, again, like seeing after you were logged into a small apartment, seeing the world around, it still exists. Yeah, it was a really, really good thing. So that was basically my experience, and I wanted to tell you about my second time as well. I don't know if I'm gonna make a video about that, because it was a little bit different, because it's already 18 minutes, so I don't want to keep you for that long, but I really hope you enjoyed my little, I don't know, Thai vlog about my experience visiting Thailand during the pandemic. If you did, please give me a thumbs up, or even subscribe. And you can also, yeah, drop me ideas, what kind of videos you would like to see, what kind of information you would like me to pass on to you. So thank you very much for watching, and see you next time. ขอบคุณครับ สวัสดีครับ